systems of innovation, or the three systems in general we see today. Of course, the first system is what we call centralized systems. You have a core and that radiates out. This is the classic way we build companies. The second way we're seeing today is what we call distributed systems. So distributed systems is you have a core, and that core has some adjacent capabilities. This is your innovation lab if you're thinking about a company. And then lastly, we're moving into this world of decentralization, where the core is actually not a core anymore. You've got flattened hierarchies. And in the world of innovation, this looks like this. This is Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb, and many other things in the world. And what Thomas Edison is the classic example of what we would call centralized innovation. You've got the lone inventor sitting in the middle of a room, coming up with great ideas, and then building organizations around him to disseminate those ideas into the world. We have moved on from this model because this model doesn't scale very well, right? Like you need to find these lone geniuses. We've moved on to a world where we now run these innovation centers. If you work for a large corporation, you know this really well. We've got these centers at what we call the edge. This is a classic example of a distributed system. Now here's the interesting challenge. Linus Pauling, one of the world's best and most known inventors, once said that if you want to have good ideas, you need to have many ideas. And that's an interesting insight, because it's not about the lone single great idea, it is about having many ideas. And that should make you already frown a little bit. You combine this with work Karim Lakhani did at Harvard Business School, where he did a longitudinal study looking into innovation efforts in large corporations. And what he found is scientific and empirical evidence to figure out that most innovation efforts suffer from a lack of initial variety and a number of approaches. That should make you, if you're in the business of innovation, that should make you go already feel a little uneasy. And you combine this with a sentence which Bill Joy once said. He was the CTO of Sun Microsystems, one of the most innovative computer companies in the world. He said, no matter who you are, most of the smartest people work for someone else. And that, by the way, is universal truth. If you're Google, you employ about 80,000 people. I guarantee you that there's another 80,000 incredibly smart people who happen to work for Apple. There's another 100,000 people who work for Microsoft, and so on. So you bring all these things together, and this is how it should make you feel if you think about innovation. Now, when you think about innovation, what you really want to do is what we call is seeking alpha. When you look at an innovation outcome, innovations fall into like a classic bell-shaped curve. There's a couple of ideas which are terrible. There's a lot of ideas which are okay, they're mediocre, in the middle. And what you want to look for is these extreme outliers. This is where you get to real disruptive innovation. This is the edge. Now the edge, to find the edge, is pretty hard, because we thought for a long time it is about making better ideas, generating better ideas. And we spend all our time, all our efforts, all our energy on creating better ideas. Whereas in reality, it's really about getting more ideas. And this new paradigm, this idea of decentralizing your innovation, is a way to get there.